are listening to the Shift Your Practice podcast with your hosts, Natalie Beauchamp and digital marketing strategist Brandy Kinnear. Both successful seven-figure practice creators in the natural health industry, they've teamed up to bring practitioners all their best business tips, growth strategies, technology tips, and practice marketing tools so you can reach financial freedom. Freedom from overwhelm and start living the life you want on purpose, not by default. This candid duo is keeping it real and straight from the heart. So buckle up and enjoy the ride, and please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shift Your Practice podcast. I am your host, Brandy Kinnear. My co-host, Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, is also with us today. And we thought we would break down for you what we just had happen at ChiroFest. We were at ChiroFest, which is an amazing conference last weekend, and we thought we would just jam on it for a bit on this podcast episode. This is also being streamed live on Facebook. So if you're watching us on Facebook, please drop a hi in the comments, or if you were at ChiroFest, hashtag ChiroFest. And if you weren't, then you can certainly check us out on Facebook Live at any time. But we wanted to really break down what the most impactful things were at ChiroFest this past weekend.
So I think, I'll echo that it was a fabulous event. It was my first time at ChiroFest, and I have to say I was really impressed with the fast pace of the speakers and the amount of speakers. And for me, I spoke on Saturday afternoon, but for the talks that I was able to grab on Friday and prior to my talk, one of the big thing I think from a theme point of view was all about how to brand yourself as the expert in your community. So we had many speakers that spoke about that, myself included, but we had Dr. Matthew Luke, we had Clint Arter, we had Dr. Wilson as well, the paleo cardiologist and so forth. So the theme was really for us to, as chiropractor, to brand ourselves in our community. And I think what's important here to know is that even if our communities are, thousands of people, or hundreds of people, there's still a way to brand yourself as an expert.
Yeah, and what I liked about the entire event when they were talking about branding was the reality is, and we know this from, working in digital marketing space and working on different clinics over the last, 13 years, I guess now, is that branding has always changed. There's an evolution to your brand, and you have to pay attention to what's working now. And that's what we really appreciated. And a lot of people have books that they've used for expert positioning, and you don't have to spend years writing a book. You can have a book and have that as a tool that you're using to build your expert branding. You can be using different technology. We had social media on there talking about how to stand out as an expert from a social media perspective. And then really, is there another way to influence your community in a larger way? So branding doesn't just start with, hey, do I need a refresh of my logo and that? Because yes, you might need that. You might have to visit that. But there's so many opportunities online right now to build your expert brand. We have, opportunities to build summits where we can be an expert speaker, using all of the social platforms that are out there, and, hosting events, aligning yourself with other experts in your community. So they really wanted to, at ChiroFest, they really focused on, making sure that your brand stands out and that you're not playing small with it.
Yeah, even with video, right? Just making sure that you're putting the content out there, because some people like to write, some people like to talk, some people are just perfect on video, just, impromptu video. So whatever your strengths are as a practitioner, and developing that content calendar is key. And I talked about that in my talk, that people may think, oh my God, she's creating so much content, but I try to repurpose as best as I can. So really, I'm creating 2 major content pieces twice in the month, and sometime I'm leveraging things that I've done in the past. So it's just a matter of getting organized and having all of the moving parts all synced so you can really leverage all of that.
Well, and being consistent too, right now, because a lot of people think, I hear this all the time when I'm working with doctors, and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm doing all this social media stuff you told me to do, Brandy, and I don't feel like it's moving the needle. And at the end of the day, it's a really funny thing. And you and I have jammed on this before. It's that people are going to look for you online, even if they've had a referral from somebody else. They're checking you out. They're stalking your website. They're stalking your social media. And if you feel like you're not getting results from it, it's like you don't actually know at what point in their purchasing journey they're at and when your messaging is going to resonate with them. I mean, in marketing, we know that it takes a minimum of 7, more likely 15 touch points to take somebody from a completely cold audience into somebody that resonates with you and wants to take action. So if you don't have social media working for you, you don't look like a pro online, you just are missing out on all those opportunities to resonate with people. And I mean, at the end of the day, what better way to do it than video? And everybody that I talk to that's not doing video are stuck in this kind of, oh God, video, it's awkward, my hair doesn't look good. And at the end of the day, like video is what works fastest and it's the best way. I mean, what does Facebook say? 80% of content is being consumed in video right now. So
I myself, I've come up with good enough is good enough, meaning that, okay, hair may not be perfect or what have you, but you know what? People want real. They don't want a scripted video all the time. So these are all things we talk about with our patient day in and day out. So I mean, it shouldn't be hard. And I think if one thing from all of this that I think all the speakers were talking about is don't make it harder than it has to. Just get it out there, get your true self out there because you're sharing those pieces of wisdom all day long, right?
Yeah, done is better than perfect and everything will evolve and you'll get better at it, but you got to start somewhere, right? So I did love that. And then the next topic that I think we wanted to break down is all about, it's all about raising your human impact. And so you talked on that, Nat, and I thought your presentation was amazing. Of course I did, because I love what you're doing. But, Nat was on stage talking about how to raise your human impact. And is that about human impact in your community, or is that about human impact in your profession? Are you sitting back and, taking a seat and just riding the train, or are you at the front of the train and you're, creating a movement with your community or with your helping your profession? And Nat, you've done a lot, and you talked a bit about positioning yourself from a publicity standpoint in your book and how all of that went into human impact. Do you want to just talk a little bit about, summarize that for us?
Yeah, thanks. I think to me, if we all do a lot in our community, but try to reach out a little bit more globally, even if you are local with a brick and mortar business, I think it just raises the profession. So I think sometimes people say, well, what good is it for me to be on YouTube and be seen in a different country? Well, we can't think this small. We've got to think bigger as a profession. And I'm always amazed, like my patient come up and say, oh, I saw Dr. Berg, or and they've seen other doctors, either functional medicine practitioner or chiropractors, and here I am, been singing the same song for I don't know how long, but if they hear it from somebody else, suddenly it's validation. So to me, we've got to think big, meaning that just what we're going to do in our community is going to have a ripple effect. And the other thing too that I mentioned in my talk is we're not leveraging each other enough, right? I'd love to put backlinks of other chiropractors' blog, like it's helping me, it's helping them. We're not collaborating as much as we should, and some people are expert in things that I'm not. So I think other specialists refer to each other, and within chiropractic, we refer to each other by location. But if I'm having a tough case, with scoliosis or what have you, and I know somebody else in my community is better at that, why not create or leverage the knowledge of other people for the patients that maybe need more.
Yeah. And I think just if we look at all health practitioners, anybody that's a service-based, heart-centered practitioner that I have spoken to and that I've heard, any conferences I've been to, and there have been many at this point, everybody wants to have a larger impact. So if that's your goal, and I guess the marketing is just a byproduct of that, and the business and the treatment that you do is just a byproduct of that. But if you are passionate about raising your impact, then you've got to stand out. You've got to be able to get outside of just this small community, or maybe the bit of knowledge that you're giving to your patient base within your clinic. And, let's work together to raise this up, because I'll tell you, I ran a clinic for 9 years. We built it to a 7-figure clinic. Every single day I spoke with patients that had no idea what, natural health could do for them. They had no concept. There's still so many people out there. Now, yeah, it's growing in awareness, but we're just chopping a little bit off of the iceberg with awareness. So we all need to come together and, keep sharing all of this. Otherwise, how do we grow without fighting? How are we fighting pharma as an example? Let's talk about California for a hot minute, right?
So, and that brings me to the second point, because I had really three big takeaway in certainty. So whatever it looks like for you to really be certain and develop that certainty in your communication with your patient, in your skills. So, I mean, people that have been in practice 20 years versus 10 years versus 2 years, our skills are going to be different, but how certain are you and how are you able to convey that? So that point, I think was driven home like crazy from just a whole bunch of different angles. But at the end of the day, I think we really all have to work on our certainty. And it's easy, if you're a solopreneur, you're alone in your office, and some days, you've got several patients coming in with this, that, and just, negative comments on whatever. It's tough. It's lonely. And some days, I'm myself included, I'm like, dang it, it just, there's why so many things today. But at the end of the day, I always ask myself, of all the people that came in, that was probably one or two people. And I don't know how and why we focus on those two people for, probably because we're perfectionists. But at the end of the day, we have to be so certain for our own self, so we can just brush it off and say, you know what, this person just wasn't ready or what have you, and then we can move on. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. So not only do you have to look like an expert and position yourself as an expert, you got to feel like an expert, right? If you're going to make massive impact and you're going to make shifts to your practice, you've got to own that expert status and you've got to feel like that. So if you're lacking in, education or specific modalities, you got to go and get that done. If you're lacking in conversational abilities to be able to convey what you're doing to patients. And I'm not talking about conveying it to them up here with scientific jargon. I'm talking about letting people understand that what they're going through right now with their daily suffering, whether it's related to their stress or whatever it is, it could very well be related to you have the solution to their problem, and they don't understand that yet. So you've got to get really good at relaying that information so that they can dial that in.
And that's a good point, because I've noticed even with myself at the beginning, you're told don't tell them too much on the first visit and so forth. But you know what? Now when I see somebody else stressed out about it, I said, you know what? I help people, or I have helped people just like you, hundreds of them. I really feel that, we'll be able to help you. And you can see the pressure just, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but it's just, they just want to know that, you've seen things like this and this is what you do. So languaging and communication is
well, and I also love to ask things like, I love to hear things like this asked. Well, what would it be like to you if we could remove this problem from your life? Get a sense of what it is that they're actually coming in for. I call it their tipping point, because they might have a problem with their physical body, but the tipping point is related to their inability to perform something in their day, something that's directly affecting their lifestyle. So dive in and figure out what that is, because that's what they care about. You care about adjusting, or you care about, management of their holistic health and their root cause and all of that. They just care about what that tipping point was that brought them in. And I think getting deeper into those conversations, that helps with the personable aspect as well. And it helps build a strong relationship, right?
Yeah. A good friend of mine calls it the life effect. And, that sums it all right.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And then another thing that we saw extremely consistently throughout the ChiroFest event was coaching. Like if you're stuck and you are not moving the needle forward in your business, there are many ways to do it. And honestly, like accountability is what it's all about. Who's going to be the one that pulls you out of the weeds and says, look, no, you need to increase your human impact. You've got to do better with this. Your marketing is, not working for you. You're all of the things that you need in a business. It's hard to do that on your own. We've had coaches, both Nat and I have hired coaches to bring us through many aspects of our business. It holds you accountable. It's a bit of skin in the game to make sure that you're doing the work. And we love the concept of having somebody else to hold you accountable, which is, why we have a coaching program, which is why we recommend that people are getting out of the humdrum of business. And if you want to shift your practice, you gotta have some skin in the game, right? Like, how are you going to do it otherwise? Because what happens another year from now? Oh, I wish my marketing was better. Oh, I wish I was doing this. I wish my systems and my operations were better. And by the way, if you're interested in doing an analysis of your operations, Nat and I have put together a marketing and systems evaluation checklist. It is so in depth. It will literally break down for you exactly what you need to do, give you an assessment of what you have deficiencies in and what you need to do. So text the number 716-203-1356. Text the word survey in there, and you can immediately download that and start digging into your business. If you want to get clarity on, marketing and systems that might be defunct in your business that are holding you back from having an expert brand, that are holding you back from, this human impact that you want to raise, because we know it can be overwhelming. We know that you can get stuck in the weeds so fast in this business.
Yeah. So those were the three main key points, and a big shout out to Dr. Paul Reed. I put on events myself in my own community, and I know how much work they are. I cannot imagine the work that went into that. So Randy, let's talk a little bit about the exhibitors, because I know that when I go to conferences, I like to walk around and see what's new. And one of the trends that I saw was about marketing and going more digital with, SMS texting and Review Wave and so forth. So you're the
yeah, no, I love what Review Wave is doing. They have the ability, if anybody's not familiar with the software, you should go and check it out. They have the ability to SMS text. They connect with your EMR. They text over to your patients that have just completed an initial appointment with you that asks for a review. And then you have the ability to have that review published across your Google My Business and your Facebook, which, we could talk all day about reviews, but we know that when people are going to look online for you, reviews is the biggest thing that's going to help them make a decision. It's a social proof component. And then there's also the capability of doing SMS, so text messaging campaigns through the same software. And we know now that email rates have been declining. There's so many people. Email marketing is not dead. I will not say that. But I will say that the open rates for things like chatbots and for things like text messages are in the 90% range. So if you're doing a text campaign and you're getting people to immediately respond, guess what the kind of return on your investment is? And it's not much of an investment. It's actually a really simple tool. So I love the software platform that Matt's put together in Review Wave. I think it's really great. I also love that everybody's focusing more on technology for scheduling, for insurance billing. There were some guys up there that had some really good platforms for that as well, which I thought were, look, and if there's something you can add to your business that takes away from the time that you're spending, or you have somebody on your team that's spending it, use technology wherever possible, because it's 2019 and I'll tell you something, it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get more robust. So early adopters, guess who's an early adopter? Nat right here. Nat is early adopted before early adopting was a thing. She literally Frankenstein things together because she needed to, increase her human impact and her marketing and her systems. But now we're lucky enough that there's been some amazing companies in the chiropractic space that have stood up and said, look, we've got a solution for you. So I think that was really, really
I'm more in the process of de-Frankenstein's.
Well, you can't have it all, Matt. You can't have it all, honestly.
No.
And then, talk about the equipment, like biohacking.
I'm a big fan of BrainTap, which I use myself here and in the office as well. So I had never met Dr. Patrick Porter in person, so got to chat with him and so forth. And I just love the technology because it's it's light, it's sound, it's the wavelengths that are putting you in beta, alpha, all the different states basically. And what I really like about it, because there's other similar technology, is the quality of the content. It is just amazing. They have things for, if you have a patient that want to stop smoking, if they want to lose weight. There's even a whole segment on chiropractic. The information there is brilliant. There's some for, one of my favorite meditation is for entrepreneurs. So it's putting me in the right mindset of abundance and getting clear on what I want. And so, it's not just the technology, but it's the quality of the content. And myself personally, I love guided meditation because I need to think all the time, which rather good or bad, but I like to have my brain stimulated in thinking. It really helps me put a better intention out there. So I just love the technology.
Well, and it's like an opportunity to decompress. And what I like about it, and if anyone hasn't seen the Brain Tap equipment, it's literally a headphone set that goes over your ears, and then it's got a piece that goes over your eyes, like a pair of opaque glasses. And they had about 7 chairs lined up at this conference. There was about 550 practitioners at the conference, 7 chairs lined up. I said to Nat, I'm trying that while I'm here this weekend. There were no chairs empty the whole time. There was a practitioner in a chair the entire time. It was like 48 hours. I could not get a spot in that chair. But what the business aspect that I really like about it is you can offer this as a tool inside your practice. So you have chairs set up. People can pay to use your equipment, and there will be a portion of people that will purchase this headset. Like they'll purchase this, they'll use the app at home because people fall in love with it. So it's a great add-on. I always look at like, wow, what a great way to increase your average transaction value without doing more work.
Yeah.
So I thought Dr. Porter was amazing. What a great guy, PhD, smart dude, built a beautiful business model for practitioners to be able to add this in. And I love the technology. I'm like in the middle of ordering my Brain Tap machine myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was a little bit selfish, I guess close to a year ago, because I have a spiritual coach, part of the people that have been on my journey, and which I love is meditation. So I introduced Jeffrey Eisen to Dr. Porter, and my selfishness here was that I can listen to Jeffrey's content within the technology. So it's great. And then the other vendors, your nutrition and so forth. But it was nice to see that it was all chiro-centric into how to deliver more efficient service to your patient, but also what else could you do to help them basically.
Well, and I think Nat, Dane Donahue had a great opportunity for practitioners too. So a lot of people are always looking, well, how can I leverage my impact in my business from a financial perspective without adding more time on? He has a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness, and you literally bring his program into your clinic, and you're adding on functional medicine without becoming this, functional medicine practitioner, because it's simplified. You're not treating the person from a disease perspective. You're just adding wellness on to what they're doing with you to increase your impact with their care and their outcomes. So I thought he did a really great presentation, and I really appreciated what he's doing for the profession, because look, if somebody's got something that's simple that you can just plug in.
Yeah. And I, going back full circle at what I said earlier, that we're not leveraging each other enough. So if somebody has a passion that they've created, an aspect of their practice to make it a turnkey, why not use that? Because, at the end of the day, you can just reach out to more people. Because let's face it, you don't have time to.
It's hard to go to all the conferences, which is why when we go to a conference, we want to bring the knowledge back to our listeners so that everybody can realize, like, look, here's what's going on. I always look at everything from a business perspective and from a global reach. How can we work together to improve information and grow awareness to natural health? So for me, whenever I look at it, it's like, oh, if I was a practitioner, I would want to add in that piece of equipment. This technology would benefit me, and this would be a new revenue model that I could add. So I look at things a little bit differently. Practitioners typically going to a conference are looking for what's the latest in TMJ, what's the latest in management for scoliosis. Tabor Smith had a great talk too, where he was talking about spinal hygiene. He was great because he wants to bring the term spinal hygiene to the mainstream. He says, if there can be dental hygiene, why can't there be spinal hygiene? And he's built this brilliant docuseries that he's releasing that I can't wait to get my hands on that. And that's another thing. It's like, look, there's education that you can provide to your patients. And just what Nat said, like, let's leverage all of these things that other people are down in the trenches doing for this profession, because I think that's super important. And it's hard to figure it all out. Like, how many conferences are you going to? And who's giving you that bird's eye view? So we're hoping this has been a bird's eye view for you today.
Yeah, because something has to be said about getting energized, from a practitioner point of view, that when you go back on Monday, you've got you're refreshed, you feel like you hung out with like-minded people. And I think that's huge as well. So, all right. So here was a overview of our experience at ChiroFest. And again, big shout out to Dr. Paul Reed, Matt Hubbard as well, and their team, because it's just awesome.
Great job. Classy event. I recommend going to ChiroFest next year if you're in the Portland area. It was fantastic.
And if you're not, you can, like us, drive across the country.
Fly for an entire day across to the other side of Canada/America. And
I think I even said drive. Geez, we would not have gotten there on time if we had driven.
It was like 5 days to drive there, Nat, just for the record.
Yeah, no kidding. I wanted to say fly. I don't know why it came out drive. So thanks everyone for tuning in to our podcast, Shift Your Practice. We hope that what we talked about today inspired you to go out to ChiroFest next year, or for that matter, other conference, to really recharge your own battery.
And like go and take some massive action. If there's something that you're looking at in your business that just isn't right, you're ready to shift it, start analyzing what's going on. Go back and take a look at that marketing and systems analysis that we've put together and start figuring out where your gaps are, and then start taking action, because what are we doing if we're not moving forward?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Thanks.
Are you tired of wondering if your practice is leaking money? Quit wondering and take our free Marketing and Systems for Natural Health Practitioners evaluation. This easy-to-do checklist will be a big eye-opener for you. It will show you where you are leaving money on the table and what gaps are in your marketing plan and systems, so that you can get clear on where you should be focusing your time to grow your practice. Go to www.shiftyourpractice.com/evaluation to download it today.
You are listening to the Shift Your Practice podcast with your hosts, Natalie Beauchamp and digital marketing strategist Brandy Kinnear. Both successful 7-figure practice creators in the natural health industry, they've teamed up to bring practitioners all their best business tips, growth strategies, technology tips, and practice marketing tools, so you can reach financial freedom. Freedom from overwhelm, and start living the life you want on purpose, not by default. This candid duo is keeping it real and straight from the heart. So buckle up and enjoy the ride, and please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times.